EAA's webinars are made possible through the generous support of Aircraft Spruce and Specialty, serving home builders and EAA members since 1965. Today's presentation is SolidWorks and the training pathways. I have two presenters. First presenter is Jeff Setzer. Jeff is a SolidWorks evangelist. He's been working with it since 1995. He works at the GSE team. They're a value-added reseller for SolidWorks. And he's certified SolidWorks professional, support technician, instructor, and simulation support technician, and Microsoft certified professional. And our second presenter is Corey Puri. Corey is EAA Membership Development Manager here on staff at EAA back in Oshkosh. He serves various roles. You see all the different things he works with, insurance and visa and the EAA travel choices, just a lot of those different member benefits that an EAA member has available to them, which are really cool and can save a person a lot of money in some cases. And of course, SolidWorks is a member benefit free to you as an EAA member. Corey holds a private pilot certificate, airplane single engine. He flies Young Eagles and Eagle flights, and he's a member of the local EAA Chapter 252. Hey, Corey, I'm going to turn control of the presentation over to you.
Thanks, Tim. We'll get started here. As one of the first things that we got when we launched this new member benefit, just a quick background on this, we've got a little over 4,000 download requests so far for the SolidWorks benefit. As you may know already, you get free access to SolidWorks Student Design Kit, EAA Maker Edition as an EAA member, and that is a license that you can use for up to a year, and it's renewable annually. So it's a really great member benefit. It's a high value. I've heard many people say that they would typically have to spend in excess of $3,000 to get a similar product from SolidWorks for the commercial version of the product, and so it's really received a lot of kudos from our members, and we're just pleased we could provide this to you as a member benefit. So the agenda for today, this is about training pathways. This is one of the areas where obviously with a software as powerful as SolidWorks is, there are a lot of there's a kind of a steep learning curve, and there are a lot of different pathways that you can get to learn about how to use the product, and we're just going to explore a few of those possibilities in this webinar. And then once I get done going through some of the different pathways, then we're going to turn it over to Jeff, and he's going to first show you how to access the built-in tutorials within SolidWorks, and then he's going to go through a demo of the product using a Zenith 650 panel and show how easy it is to drop in some instruments. For the typical member, it shouldn't be too complicated once you get a familiarity with the product and what it does. So I'll go into the first pathway is the built-in tutorials, as I just mentioned. SolidWorks comes with over 70 self-paced interactive tutorials. The intent of using these tutorials is that it gives you a familiarity with the different icons and the functions of the product. It's not intended to teach you how to use their design approach to building a product. Rather, it's just a familiarization tool for you. You can access those built-in tutorials if you click on the Help menu item and then select SolidWorks Tutorials. As I say on the screen there, you can hover over any tutorial to get a brief description of the tutorial, as well as how much time it's expected to complete the tutorial. And then, like I said, it's really just intended to walk you through step by step how to use the product, and it'll literally provide an instruction on the screen. It'll highlight the icon that you need to click on to complete a task. It'll tell you what you're supposed to do with that icon or with that tool, and it's really just a very user-friendly way of learning and orienting yourself to how to use SolidWorks. Another pathway that a lot of our members use, in fact, the EAA forums on our web, we've got an EAA forums website where any member can ask support questions. We've got over 24 support volunteers answering questions about how to use SolidWorks out there. But one of the first questions that people started asking was about training, and one pathway that was mentioned right away were that there are quite literally thousands of training videos on YouTube that are free for you to use. They tend to be, most of them are short, purpose-driven training videos on how to use SolidWorks for the different tasks that you would want to do, and but then there are some longer ones that are over an hour in length, and really two names that came to mind right away by some of our support volunteers are Chris Sikora, who has a website, vertanix1.com, and you can see that on the screen there if you want to take a quick screen capture of this. Chris has hundreds of training videos out there on everything from SolidWorks to other CAD software packages. On his website, though, he also has a manual which lays out the different training videos that are available on YouTube, and it also provides links to access parts models that you can use in learning to use the software program. So it'll literally say, chapter 1 is how to do sketches and drawings, and here are some parts that you'll use for that exercise. You can download those, bring them into SolidWorks, and then you'll have what you need to get started on that exercise. Tim Callanan also was mentioned. He doesn't offer parts models to use, but his training videos are very comprehensive, and they're very similar. Both of these individuals have their videos laid out in a similar fashion to what SolidWorks calls their Essentials class. And so they step you through kind of a skills building process to learn how to use SolidWorks and its various modules. SolidWorks Essentials, as I just mentioned, is that next class that people who want instructor-led training typically pursue. GSE, our value-added reseller for SolidWorks, offers Essentials classes throughout the year that you can sign up for as members, and members do get a 15% discount off of that course. There are SolidWorks Essentials web-based options available. Lynda.com has a copyrighted version that they offer. There are free versions out there, but a lot of them have infringed upon Lynda's copyright, and they've basically copied their videos. I would discourage you from using those, but they are out there, and so you'll probably encounter them when you're on YouTube. It's for $29.99 per month for a subscription to Lynda, and access to the exercise files, the models for SolidWorks. It's not a bad option if you prefer to go the web-based route in taking Essentials training. But the exercise files are also available on the SolidWorks, Dassault System SolidWorks website. You can download those, and I've put in instructions there on what you'd want to enter to get the exercise files that would equate to the version of SolidWorks that we're using. The last thing I wanted to mention, just web-based is not a substitute for in-person training. Obviously, if you went through GSE or another value-add reseller for SolidWorks Essentials training, you're going to get that ability to ask questions, to get help, if you get stuck on something, and then you're also going to have you know, issues on video-based option where sometimes those YouTube videos, when they compress them to load them up, it looks a little bit grainy, and so you're actually going to be, as you're learning SolidWorks in a classroom environment, you're using the actual software in a hands-on fashion, and you'll be able to see, you know, on their screen what they're doing as they're walking you through the training elements. EAA Chapters are another outlet for learning about SolidWorks. Now, this is not a, you know, across the board. We're trying to build some bench strength, if you will, throughout the chapter network with individuals who've, you know, raised their hand and said, I'm willing to volunteer and provide training at my chapter because I'm a commercial user of SolidWorks, and so. That's really a really great that's a really great avenue for learning in a hands-on way, and they can kind of tailor the training to the types of things that you want to use SolidWorks for. But again, it's not across the network yet, and EAA is building a list of volunteers. But if you wanted to, if you don't have a volunteer at your chapter who knows SolidWorks, you can certainly reach out to the SolidWorks has a kind of a networking website where you can find individuals in your area who are SolidWorks users and looking to network with other SolidWorks users, and maybe reach out to one of them and invite them to one of your chapter meetings, and perhaps they'd consider doing a little bit of a demo or some instruction on SolidWorks. So that's another opportunity, and I've put a link to that on this slide. EAA will be sourcing curriculum for chapter driven efforts. We're working closely with GSE, and they're interested in training some of our support volunteers to provide such training, and we'll get something in place relatively soon, but it may not be across our full network. My SolidWorks tutorials. I mentioned the tutorials that are built into the program, but there are also video-based tutorials that SolidWorks offers on their my.solidworks.com website in their training area, and they've got a catalog of over 365 lessons that were produced by Dassault Systems, and this instruction is really high quality. It's really nicely put together. It is, I should caution you that most of it is Flash-based, so if you're using an Apple-based product, which you probably wouldn't be able to run SolidWorks anyways in an Apple computer environment, but I should caution you that Flash, you know, animations, as you probably already know, don't work on a Apple environment unless you do some configuring of your computer. But for all intents and purposes, the My SolidWorks network works. The training on there works best in a Windows environment. Guest access you can get without having a subscription to the product. That really just gives you access to overviews for each of the courses that are out there, and introductions. If you really want to explore this as a training path, what you really need is standard or professional level access. Those are available from GSE for purchase. It gives you access to the courses in increments of hours of blocks of time that you can access training courses. If you want to reach out to GSE customer service, they can get you started on that if you see stuff out there that you'd like to take. Okay. The next avenue that we're exploring right now this year will be offering, in partnership with GSE, some level of training through our Sport Air Workshops program. And the EAA and GSE are working on the details of this right now, and we're going to try to put something together at a discounted rate for members. One thing that we're currently exploring testing is a one-day free course offered throughout the week of AirVenture with a 3-day purchased add-on that would occur the Monday through Wednesday after AirVenture. And so you could take the one-day element, and if you like it, you could stick around that Monday through Wednesday of the next week and take the rest of the course. That essentially would give you a 4-day course, which would cover the essentials class. The one day would be the first day of the essentials class. Dates and times may be an issue for some of you, and obviously, you know, it's an intensive study, and it may not be for everyone, but this gives those individuals the opportunity. You know, if you're interested in instructor-led training, this will really be a good option for you. Technical college courses. I just did a quick check-in and with some of the technical colleges in our area, and you know, with an install base of somewhere north of 3.5 million users worldwide, obviously the technical college avenue has picked up on that, and they offer courses that are specific to SolidWorks. The local college, for example, here, Fox Valley Tech, offers an introduction to SolidWorks. That's a 16-week course. They do it in 3-hour increments per week, and they offer it for $295. You know, while that cost is very attractive, you know, that's not the type of training for everyone. And so maybe if you think that there's a risk that you're gonna forget more than you learned from week to week, perhaps the essentials immersive environment is a better option for you. But that is something that you can check into with your local technical college, and if that's going to be a good fit for you. SolidWorks certifications. This is something for an individual who would have a desire to make a profession of using SolidWorks. Certifications are something that you can put on your resume, and it really tells the person that you're sharing that resume with that you've gone through a testing process that is governed by Dassault Systems, and you've passed a test that shows that you are either a SolidWorks professional or a SolidWorks technical user. There's a lot of different certifications that are available. And it tells them what your capabilities are and that a third party has verified that you have those capabilities. If you want to make a career out of design, I would strongly encourage you to get a certification. The certificate is issued by Dassault Systems once you've completed an online test. Dassault Systems will offer EA members free test codes to use to obtain a certification. That's about a $295 value. We're going to be introducing that at AirVenture this year. We're going to be teaching, in fact, a Tuesday and a Thursday test prep class. And the certifications manager for Dassault Systems will be at AirVenture to teach that class. And then on Saturday, in our computer lab here, we have about 18 spots where individuals can, in 4-hour increments, test out on and receive a certification from Dassault Systems if they successfully pass that test. You also will have the option to do this after AirVenture if you want to get a certification. We'll make it available where you can request a promo code to get access to the test, and that'll be available in a members only area on our website. But we're going to wait till after AirVenture to make that available because we want to see how well it goes at AirVenture and see if we have any issues in launching it. So that will again be available. Test prep class Tuesday and Thursday of AirVenture, and then testing in a morning block on Saturday and an afternoon block on Saturday. After Oshkosh, we'll make those available on the EAA.org SolidWorks Resource Center, and the website address is available there. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jeff to do a demo of the Builtin Tutorials, and then also a little bit of a modeling demonstration.
Thanks, Corey. Let me go ahead and show my screen here. And first, I'd like to thank everybody for coming into this webinar. This program's been around for barely a year, and I know I'm learning a lot about EAA and experimental aircraft and home building, and it's pretty fascinating. And a lot of people are showing a lot of interest in SolidWorks, which is also fantastic as well. So when you download SolidWorks and you go through that procedure and you install it on your system, kind of the first thing you want to do is sort of like get yourself into some tutorials. They're built into the software. You don't have to have internet access even to do them. They're right local. And the way you access that is just go into your SolidWorks here, and at the very top, the question mark is, that's where all the help stuff is. Hit this little drop down, and you'll see the second one on the list is SolidWorks Tutorials. When you start that up, you'll see that SolidWorks gets a little smaller to make room for the tutorials page here. And there are a number of different tutorials kind of built in. Now, again, SolidWorks has various levels of...
Hey, Jeff?
Yes?
Jeff, if you could please, I think your screen is paused. If you can hit the play button, because right now it's sort of locked up on my end.
It's not paused, I don't think. Yeah, I'll hit stop.
Okay, now I'm seeing it.
Play again. Okay, yeah. All right.
Thanks.
Okay. Sure. So, like I said, SolidWorks has a number of different levels of software, and there's, of course, tutorials for all that stuff. But for the EAA Maker Edition and getting started here, we want to, keep on, these couple tabs here. Getting started, basic techniques, and enhanced techniques. There's this first one. It's about an hour-long tutorial, introduction to SolidWorks. You make a fairly complex part to start with and a drawing. If you have AutoCAD familiarity, this one sort of speaks the AutoCAD language and sort of translates. So, what you do in AutoCAD, here's how you do it in SolidWorks. But I personally really like to start people out with lesson 1, 2, and 3 of these, part assembly and drawings. You do some very basic stuff from scratch. These are shorter tutorials. They're 30 minutes or so each. And if you go ahead and start this one right here, you'll see how the tutorials work. So first thing to note is if there's a step that you are to do in SolidWorks to follow along, they will have numbers in front of them. Anything that doesn't have a number in front of it, the numeric step to do, is background information. Okay, so you'll see this here. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this part, how we're going to do it, sort of going through the process. And then down the bottom, you're going to have the next topic available. And then you can also do the previous topic. So that's your navigation down here. And you can see here that, okay, open a part, new document, call it, say it's tutor 1, and then here you go. So these are the steps that you do in the software. And as Corey mentioned earlier, yeah, the tutorial is really nice because they even help you to find where the buttons are. So click new on the standard toolbar. Well, what's that? I don't know what that is. I'm brand new to SolidWorks. I go ahead and click on that button, and it'll show me in the interface, flash it on the screen there, and show me the tooltip of where that button is. Likewise, where's the save button? Well, it's over there. So you go through these steps, and then you continue forward. If there's in this case here, we're making a file from scratch. If there's a start file that you're going to open up and work on, those are all local to your system. Again, nothing to download, and they'll just have the first step will be open this file, and you can go right through to that. So if you go back to the very beginning here, tutorials here, we have the getting started. Then we also have basic techniques. So putting in fillets and rounds, doing revolves and sweeps, patterning features, okay, doing lofts and even some basic surfacing. Sheet metal is part of SolidWorks. Even the basic edition, you guys have full-blown sheet metal capabilities, and you also have weldments too. So we can do welded frames, square tube, rectangular tube, channel, pipe, all that kind of stuff. You can actually model it up in SolidWorks in a really neat way. All these tutorials are right here inside of your basic SolidWorks in, as well as assembly made. So here, so adding parts together, connecting them as such. So even down here where it says customizing SolidWorks, you want to customize your interface. There's some nice tutorials there. And then there are advanced techniques. You know, if you want to add equations between parts, you want to do some more advanced design work or do more complicated drawings. Okay, if you want to do 3D sketching, so you want to be able to sketch in 3D space and then, you know, basically make tubes out of that, you can do that. Or you want to do a 2D sort of a mechanism check, and you can use that with sketch blocks built into your SolidWorks EAA Maker Edition. Things like that, working with multiple bodies. These are all part of what you have. Now, you know, when you get into like electrical routing and circuit work and stuff like that, that's, you know, simulation and things like that. That's not part of the EAA Maker Edition. But there's a whole lot of tutorials that get you started and get you pretty far. And if you're going to come to an essentials class, whether it's at GSE or you know, the local reseller or somewhere else in the world, we do ask that you go through lesson 1, 2, and 3, the part, assembly, and the drawing tutorials before you come into class to get you, so you have some basic familiarity with the software interface. You know, because we do teach that, but as Corey mentioned, when you're talking about you know, just a few days to go through a bunch of material, and it's intense, you know, we're going to hit the ground running pretty quick. So, you know, this is sort of everybody who ever touches SolidWorks, and, you know, from the very beginning, I really, you know, they should be familiar with this part and that little back assembly there and that drawing. That should be something you've done before at least once. So those are the built-in tutorials built into SolidWorks. Now, I want to just highlight one other thing here real quick, and that's My SolidWorks. So this is the place for all things SolidWorks for anybody. So if you go to my.solidworks.com, there's no www in front of it, it's just my.solidworks.com. And I haven't logged in yet or anything. This is what you get. So the first thing you see is, you know, some basic information. You have an interface on top and some other another alternative interface down here. You'll see that you have, you know, Buzz. So it's information. It's you know, stuff in blogs. There's all this stuff about the SolidWorks world in here, including techno blogs and things like that. Just some highlighted areas. You can also download some CAD models. You want to play with some things. This is not aviation specific, but they're, you know, right here. And then you have training. So if I hit the training tab here, this is where you can get into these lessons. So there are built-in lessons here, and this is web-based, okay? And again, depending on your level you have, guest, the standard level, which is a paid level, and a professional level, which is also paid level. But guest is for anybody. If I go ahead and you just kind of highlight, okay, narrow it down. I'm looking for SolidWorks CAD specifically, and maybe I don't care what version it is. I just want to know all the lessons there, and then see what's going on. Or I'm interested in design, or I want to look at stuff more about assemblies. So you can go in, and again, some of this may not be pertain to you because you don't have routing, for example, but assembly drawing views, bottom assembly modeling, these kind of things. You can go through all these, and, you know, some of these are, you know, an hour long or whatever, and they're really well done. And again, if you want to do more of these things, and I want to just clear all, go back to the top, you can get into standard level, and then professional level as well. If you want to, you really use this tool as your sort of training tool. For a lot of, again, EAA members or distributed around the globe, this may be the best path for you. But this is something you can explore out here. Again, the guest level is free to everybody. The other ones that you can purchase through like GSE or reseller here to do that. So that's why I kind of expose you to the tutorials and also just, you know, how to get to My SolidWorks. And again, there's more information as well. There's forums. There's, you know, like I said, downloadable CAD models and stuff like that. This is where sort of the nexus for the general SolidWorks community. This is where we hang out. Okay, so let's go back into SolidWorks, and let's talk about something specific to what you may be doing. So as Corey mentioned here, they get me a model. Of a panel from a Zenith airplane. And you can see it's got kind of the front area here. We have some bracketry support back there. You want to do, and what we want to do is we want to go ahead and start adding instruments to this. Now, this is something where, again, you may have some start files if you're doing a kit, and maybe they provide that stuff for you, or you're designing it yourself. So you design this panel yourself, and you want to lay it out. Well, you probably don't want to go out there and recreate every little purchased item. Many of these items are out there on SolidWorks, on mysolidworks.com. People do model these things. So, for example, or GrabCAD. So, for example, in GrabCAD here, I have all these instruments, Falcon, the Artificial Horizon, Altimeter, the VSI. These are already made for me. So, a lot of companies that sell this stuff and they want people to design, with their instruments, with their parts, to get it in their BOM. The easy way to do that is to make it so that it's easy for people, designers, to use those models in their designs. If their models are used in the design, there's a high likelihood that they'll actually go with that particular unit when it comes time to purchasing the parts to actually build the thing. So we can go ahead and download these things. Now, if you are doing this a lot, there's a lot of parts you buy and get models from the internet as your home building. So instead of having to go into a separate Windows window all the time to do this, you might want to make it so that it's easier to access these library items that you download inside of SolidWorks. So I'm going to go ahead and just highlight this whole field here, which is where this is the folder that I have this stuff downloaded to. I'm going to Control-C on my keyboard. That's going to Windows copy. Okay, just to copy that text. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to go into the second tab here on the task pane. That's our design library. Now, I have some other areas you won't have because I flushed mine out, but you will all have design library top level, and you can go ahead and see there's some sample parts. You've probably already explored that if you've been using SolidWorks for a while. Well, you can make your own icons in here, and they can basically refer to any folder or folder structure that you want on your system. So if I want to add at the top level here my instrumentation folder, just come up to the second guy up here that says add file locations. Hover over the icons in SolidWorks and they will give you a tooltip to show you what they mean. So I want to add a new file location to this. And the trick is, instead I could click through my whole system here, but I copied that whole thing before to a Windows clipboard. So I'll just Control-V, which will paste that into a selected folder. And if I hit Enter, it'll go ahead and add that in. And so now I have a new icon in my design library. If I click on that, it basically takes me right to that folder right inside of SolidWorks. So if you might have more than one folder, or you might have one top level folder you want to access easily inside of SolidWorks to be able to drag and drop parts in like this. An easy way to do it is just go up here in your design library and add a file location and add that folder into this tool. So then it's easy to just go from one folder to another and see right away the icons for the SolidWorks parts that you can use in your designs. It's really good for stuff you use a lot, hardware and stuff like that you might have models for. Okay, so as we do this here, I want to do what's known as a six-pack kind of a layout here, right? So, and I'm going to go from the upper right, and I'll kind of work my way across, and then I'll do the second row right to left, just kind of going from the center out here. So the first thing that we should put in there is an altimeter. So that's this guy right here. I can hover over it, see the icon picture, and in SolidWorks you can just take these things and drag and drop them into your assembly. Now, when I do this, okay, it's going to want to ask me if I want to do another one. I can keep clicking if I want more than one. I only need one, so hit escape. Escape in SolidWorks always drops whatever you're doing and goes back to the regular pointer tool. So I've dragged and dropped this guy in here. It comes in oriented the way that the file originally is oriented. So just in space, but I can spin it around, spin a file, a model in a 3D assembly. I'm just using my mouse button on my mouse, and I'm using my right mouse button as I drag, and that's going to let me spin it. Okay, whereas my regular left mouse button lets me drag it. So it's going to kind of pop in through the back here. And in SolidWorks assemblies, what I need to do is I need to do what's known as a mate. I need to connect these two things together. Now, fortunately, the common mates are really really straightforward to apply in SolidWorks because they'll apply just as you click on multiple items. They'll suggest things to you. So, for example, this front bezel here, this front surface, I want to click on that. I'll zoom out a little bit. Again, zooming in and out is your mouse wheel. Okay, middle mouse button rotates. Again, you'll notice in the tutorials there. And what I want to do is I've got that first face selected, and I'm going to hold down my control key and select the second back face of my panel. And I'm going to get some suggestions down here of how to make those. I can make them just generally parallel, make them perpendicular. I could lock them with respect to each other, just so they're like basically going to keep that their distance. I could put an actual distance, front to back between the two, or an angle. In this case here, I want them to line up. Line up or coincident is one of the most common mates you use in SolidWorks. So I click on coincident, and it will make those two faces so that they line up right on top of each other. That's what that does. And I still have degrees of freedom. I can still drag this guy around. You can see that that face is coincident with this face here. It's poking through the back there, which is what I want to do. Now, another thing I might want to do, just to make sure things are correct, I mean, it looks like it's sort of vertical, but it's not exactly vertical. Parts are always going to have at least three planes. Looking over in my feature manager tree, here's that altimeter part file. If I expand this tree, here's all the features. It's an SolidWorks file that someone made, and put on GrabCAD. But those cardinal planes, I want to find the one. They can just hover over. I'm not clicking on anything. Just hover over. And that vertical one, that happens to be the right plane in that particular model, I want to click on that. And then we're going to come up. We'll zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to find the corresponding orientated plane in my overall assembly model, which is that front plane. I'll control click on that. And again, I pick two planes. What I want to do, I don't want to make them coincident. Coincident would shoot this guy right in the middle of that assembly there. I don't want that. I just want them to be generally parallel. So I'm using that as an orientation. So now I know the thing is going to be vertical. I move this around. Now, as you create your designs, and we'll deal with the whole in a little bit, I want to lay out some more instruments here. So if I look at the next one, which is going to be my artificial horizon, my attitude indicator here, I want to add some intelligence to these parts. If you're using a part over and over again, I know normally you're only going to have one instrument in your panel, but think of other things like fasteners, the things that you use over and over and over again, different brackets and things that you might apply, a dozen or more times in your model as you go. You have the ability in SolidWorks to make these a little more intelligent. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this part, which will open it up in SolidWorks in its own window. And I want to add some information to it. So what I want to do is I want to make it so that it knows, every time I put this in anything, this front face is going to line up with the back face or with another flat face, right? It's always going to do that. That's a repetitive thing, okay? So what I want to do is I want to tell SolidWorks that I want to add a reference. So if you look in the top menu here, it's in any one of these areas here, whether it's features or any of the toolbars here. I'm going to go ahead and the reference geometry and that drop down. I can say I want to add a mate reference. This is sort of adding sort of a Lego snapping effect to a part. And you do up to 3, but basically only one of them happens. So it's like if this one fails, I'll look for this one. Look for this one. Most people just put in the primary and that's all they care about. So in this case here, I'm going to say, well, the reference is this face. I want this face to always line up a certain way, always put a certain mate on. So in this case here, I want it to always be coincident. It's going to always snap to a face of something, basically a panel of some kind. Now, the direction and again, you learn this more in training and that, but when you have a coincidence, there's two ways to line up these faces, right? I could either have them aligned, which would be, it's basically like sunk into the panel and flush with that top face, or what I normally want to do is say anti-line, which means it's pointing away. So material of the panel is going this way, and my material on this model is going that way. So anti-aligned. So I'll add that in there, and then I'll go ahead and just save it. So let's go ahead and say save. Okay, we'll close that out. So now back to my assembly here. If I go ahead and get that artificial horizon now, and I bring it in, it's going to use normal orientation until I get over a flat face. And now it's going to say, oh, I know what to do there. I'm going to line up coincident anti-aligned or away, pointing away from that face there. And it looks like we're on this face or that face, whatever face I want. I'm holding on my mouse button as I do this. I want to obviously drop it on this face. And it's going to want to confirm that, because it's presupposing, hey, you want that coincident made, but you just got to say, yeah, I actually do. If you hit cancel, then it actually won't put the mate on. But that's what we want. So now it's in here. Now, of course, I want to orient it, but I also want to put some spacing between here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select these two faces, and instead of doing a coincident, I want them to line up exactly. I want them touching. I do want them parallel, but I also want a distance. So a distance will actually establish parallel on two flat faces. So they have to be parallel to have a constant distance. And then I also have an option to specify a number. So maybe I want them a 1/4 inch apart, and it'll do that for me. Now notice, because this one's not fixed, you move this guy over. When neither of them are fixed, the solver will choose to do what you want. But either one of them, I can move, and they'll do this. Now, of course, I'm going to line them up on top, so we'll take that top face, and that top face can control key, and then in this case, yeah, I want them coincident. They'll be, in this case, aligned, right? So I'm flipping it over to touch it, it's just aligned. So now I got those two kind of locked together. And let's go ahead and add in our third item, which is the airspeed indicator. So we'll go ahead and find that guy. And what I've done is I've so what happened here? If I go and bring this guy in here, and I do this, see what's happening? It's doing a coincident mate on that face that I'm looking at, but see how it's like flush with it? That means that when I created that mate reference, I messed up, and I said, instead of anti-aligned, I said aligned. So the cool thing about SolidWorks is anything's editable. So if I go back and double click on that part, open it up, and I go back and say, okay, here's those mate references in here. You can go in, and I can see that one, and I can go ahead and add definition. Right click on any object in SolidWorks. It's going to get you some properties, but it also almost always gives you an edit definition or edit sketch or edit feature. There's always an edit option there. So I'm going to add definition of that mate reference like I did it before. And let's see here, coincidence and align. Should we save that? And let's take the guy, airspeed indicator. Huh. I think I selected the wrong face in there. Well, what I can do instead of this. I'll just move it out in space. And what I'll do is I will find that mate. And I will delete it. delete that reference. I can spin it around the way I want to. So maybe I'll fix that later on and make that work the way it's supposed to in the future. But this way, in this case here, let's go ahead and add this guy on here. Add this guy on here. Add that relation. And again, what I'm going to do to orient and space it, I'll take these two faces, add that distance mate, and I'll make it 1/4 inch. And then lastly here, I'll make it flush on top. So as we go along here, I would do the same thing with the other three. But I'm looking at the time here. I'll make sure we have plenty of time for questions and that. So what I'm going to do instead is I'll come down and I'll just place these three. And then what I'll do is I'll talk about how to get these. Oops. What did I do? Boo-booed, right? So this is oriented the wrong way. What did I do? If I go ahead and look at this, these are the mates I have. So clicking on an object in SolidWorks, you get options to act on them, but you also have all the items in the tree, and one of them is the part, which gives you the mates. So what I did was I used the wrong face. I connected those two distance mates like that, and I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'll delete that distance mate because I wasn't paying attention to the orientation. And delete that one too. This guy's in the middle, so now this is free to move. Oh. And this guy too. I have to get rid of those mates. So basically, this guy only has one mate on it, which is just the face mate. I paid more attention. I wouldn't have to do this, but there we go. So now we got the right orientation for that guy. Let's go ahead and reestablish its relations here. This guy again, hold on the control key, two faces, make them a distance, 0.25. Control key, make them coincident. And we'll do this one, 0.25. And we establish that coincidence. We have it oriented correctly. Okay. So I got these things laid out the way they're supposed to be now. What I want to do is I want to now, I mean, they're poking through here, but I need to be able to actually get the cutout geometry. So we'll finish up with this. A little bit of an advanced technique where I'm going to go in my assembly here, and you see all these parts we have. This part in particular, this is my panel part. I want to edit that. I'm editing that part while I'm in the assembly. Why I'm doing this because I want to be able to see the geometry of the other parts. When you're in a sketch, you have the ability to grab geometry from other parts and project them in your sketch. So for example, I can take this whole face right here and I say I want to convert entities. And what just happened, if I get out of that, I'll hide this part. Edit the part. I'll start a sketch. There I am. Grab this face. Convert entities. And now that's converted. As you can see here that it's giving me a filled in area. So if I come over, I'll come over here while the sketch is still active, and I will hide that part. So what we did was we grabbed all the entities there as if I sketched them myself, but it's using the exact correct geometry there. So that way, if I come in and do an extruded cut, it's like you learn in your tutorials, just sketch, extrude, I'll extrude through all there. Now I have the knockout for that particular instrument in the panel. I go ahead and turn it back on, visibility, now you can see it. So that's the procedure you would use. Again, we'll do another one. I'll come in and we'll do a sketch. You can do this all in one sketch if you want to. I'm going to do it in a separate sketch. So another sketch. Pick the geometry you want to grab on the outside, which in this case will be the entire circle. And I'll say convert entities, like so. Again, we can hide this component just to kind of make it clear what's happening. I now have that circle, the exact right side and position, and then I'll go ahead and do a cut extrusion through all. There you go. And you get the idea. So if I go back to assembly here, let's go ahead and show that guy again. The benefit is these holes, these cutouts are based on the geometry, so that if the geometry changes, in the case here, we're not going to be changing the size of them, but we might change the position of them. We might move these around over here and have SolidWorks rebuild. When you move things around, you can have SolidWorks rebuild, either hit the little stop and go light up here or Control B, will rebuild, recalculate based on the new positions of things. So that way, you're always going to have the right shape and location for these cutouts. So that when you take this information and you lay it out on a piece of paper in a drawing, a 2D drawing, or if you give the model to somebody, a fabricator who's going to fabricate it for you, they just use the geometry as it is. They don't have to worry about interpreting the diameter and everything else. Of course, you can document that too, but having the direct geometry is the most efficient way to go when you're manufacturing. So at this point, I think we have a few minutes left. I want to make sure we have be able to wrap up here. So what I'll do is I'll send it back to Tim, and we can talk about any questions that you guys may have typed in while we've been doing this.
Okay, Jeff, thank you so much. We got a couple questions in here. Let's get them in here. Jonathan's wondering, is there any prospect of an instructor-led webinar or even a series of webinars?
So what Jonathan's asking then is if we would consider doing essential style training done through a webinar where people could watch the webinar as they're working on computers. We could explore that. I'd have to work something out with GSE on that front, but I mean, it's a possibility. I don't know that environment would be quite as good, just because there are some unique issues that would be presented in doing that length of training through a webinar, but it's something we could check into. I can't commit to it now, I guess.
Okay. Robert's wondering, when, if ever, are you going to bring SolidWorks into the Apple Macintosh world?
I'll let Jeff answer that one.
I can tell you that SolidWorks was created in '93 and released in the first release in '95. Specifically using extensions to Windows that actually SolidWorks personnel, early developers worked with Microsoft on to allow for the interactive sort of nature when I have a part in an assembly to change a part in a window and the assembly updates. It's not file based. I have to save it to do that. So it's based on extensions to object linking and embedding technology in Windows. At this point, I would say that there's, I can't speak directly for this, so of course, but it's been, since '95. I don't think there will be native SolidWorks or Mac app for SolidWorks. Now, that's not to say that they won't have some other tool. They're always developing new stuff, whether it's web-based or hybrid kind of thing, because SolidWorks is it's mature, right? So it's based on a code base that's been around since the mid-90s. Of course, they're really good at enhancing the software, as if you follow the software, But in terms of, what if you want to do something completely different? You may have heard of things like X design, things like that are web-based or kind of a hybrid thin client, type of scenario. Those you might see maybe a multi-platform scenario, but SolidWorks desktop, I personally don't think you'll ever see it native on a Mac. I have a Mac at home, so I love it, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, William's wondering, looks like he is running Premium 2017 version. How similar is the EAA Maker Edition?
So everything I did in this demonstration is available in your Maker Edition. So I didn't use any tools, any icons, or anything like that. That is not part of your EAA Maker Edition.
Okay. Jerez Law is wondering, is there any aircraft-specific design course for SolidWorks which includes detail aircraft design practices and not just using the software?
I don't know of any. Yeah, I don't know of any that are available out there now. I did do some checking on that. GSC is a value-added reseller. Probably my guess is that they would have the most aircraft-specific knowledge on staff because their founder, he used to work for Cessna, and so I would suspect that they would, but there's no essentials class, if you will, for aircraft, and I think hopefully at some point we work with GSE on a sport air workshop that would apply some of those methods, but right now there isn't anything.
Yeah, I'll add to you, Corey. Probably if there's an opportunity there. I mean, our client base is, we support the EAA, but we also support, and SolidWorks does, 3.5 million people. Most of them are not making airplanes. So curriculum tend to be generalized in the training that we do. However, EAA members, I know there's some people that are really long-time users of SolidWorks and also, well-versed in aircraft, home building and that kind of thing. So I think there's some opportunity maybe for some EAA members to kind of work with EAA and GSC to sort of develop something, and we'd be happy to explore those possibilities as well.
And Charles is wondering, can you demo how to install the bezel?
To demo how to install the bezel, I think we're out of time right now. It's 1 o'clock, so.
Okay, that's going to take a little bit more time then to be able to do that. Maybe that's for another webinar presentation in the future then.
Yeah, or they could go online to YouTube and just do a search for bezel and SolidWorks, and that would probably turn up a number of videos on it.
That's true, yes.
Okay, and Jonathan just says a little background information that he is an international member, and this is a great member benefit, and he's delighted to be using it.
Excellent.
Glad to hear it. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, that's the end of our questions that we have in here. So let's go ahead and make some closing comments. Jeff, if you want to make a closing comment, and then Corey, if you want to wrap it up with a closing comment.
Well, I'd just like to thank again everybody for their interest in SolidWorks, and as Corey mentioned, I mean, the rest of the world, if you want to get SolidWorks standard, which is what you essentially have, it's $4,000. So to have it as a member benefit of EAA is just a really, it's very it's a really great benefit that, you know, Corey and the EAA has really worked hard with SolidWorks and Dassault system to make happen. And taking advantage of it, I like to see as many people as possible do that. Of course, training is, you know, there's, you can't just inject it or you know run a program and then, you know, and watch a video and then be an instant expert in SolidWorks. But the software cost is basically none. So maybe you know, putting a couple $100 into some training, I think would be very beneficial for anybody who wants to really get serious with this tool and design aircraft with it.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. We're just a couple comments. Use those EAA forums. The website address is listed on the screen right now. That is a really great resource for accessing our SolidWorks volunteers to answer questions about it. I see a lot of activity out there. It's probably one of the fastest growing areas of our forums area, so definitely use that. Hopefully sometime this year we're going to be announcing some upgrades to our SolidWorks license. We're working with Dassault Systems on that right now to give you some of the functionality that you requested in a survey we did late last year. And so look for that, any announcements on that, maybe before AirVenture, but we'll work on it sometime this year. And then if you have any issues with you know, downloading the product, my contact information is there. Drop me an email and I'd be happy to help you get it loaded into your system.
Hey, great. Thank you so much, guys. Corey Puri and Jeff Setzer. Really appreciate you sharing this information with us today. And to everybody who tuned in, thank you so much for joining us today. And hope you're getting a lot of value out of that SolidWorks and using it and designing parts and pieces. And shoot, go ahead and design your own aircraft. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining us.